Hey everybody, so I'm back. So today we're going to be talking about something different. And so yesterday a poll came out, or I think it was the day before, a poll came out and it was about marijuana, and it said that 58% of people approved of marijuana legalization and 42% of people disapproved of it. And so today I thought it would be kind of appropriate to talk about it. So what I did was I went on the DEA website and I wrote down some things, some of the points on their stance, and I decided why not just talk about it a little bit. So today I'm just going to be listing off things that the DEA believes. And first of all, we got to realize that the DEA has a financial stake in making sure that marijuana is illegal, because they get pretty much 60% of their funding to deal with marijuana. If marijuana was legal, they'd lose about 60% or something like that of their funding. And before all this drug war stuff happened, they were actually told that they were going to actually merge with the FBI because they weren't as needed. So they came up with this or that, and they decided, hey, let's go after the marijuana people. And then they demonized them and said, hey, look at all these problems. We need more funding for the DEA. So they got it, and so the drug war, raged on, and now we're here today. So today I'm just going to be talking about a couple things that they believe in, and I'm just going to basically debunk them. But I'm going to debunk them from a common sense perspective, because I can sit here and talk for hours about studies that say, this or that, and prove this or that, and then the DEA goes back and forth and studies, it's just a big fucking mess. The best way to decide on something is just from common sense perspective, So, let's just start. One of the first things they say on the website, the DEA website, is that the proposition that smoked marijuana is medicine is false trickery used to promote full legalization. And I kind of agree with that, but that's because I believe that this whole thing is a joke. The whole medical marijuana thing is a joke. They did it during Prohibition. They said that, hey, let's make medical alcohol, and that's one of the ways that it leads to legalization. But you gotta look at the key in the sentence, right? It says smoked marijuana, and they imply that it's not medicine. So, of course, smoked marijuana is not good for you, because anything that you're smoking isn't going to be good for you. If you're smoking a maple leaf, or if you're smoking, banana strings or whatever, that's not going to be good for you because you're smoking it. But the product itself doesn't mean that it's not good for you. In fact, the product itself is actually good for you. Marijuana is actually good for you, and it is actually medicinal. It gets rid of pain in your back, glaucoma. It's just got a bunch of stuff. I would say the biggest thing that it would help with would be to people who are anorexic and have a hard time eating. I would say it definitely helps them. But I think this whole medical thing is definitely a charade, and I don't know. It's just kind of stupid, really, because it should be fully legalized, and that's about it. But I guess the medical marijuana thing, has helped, spread the word that it's the good thing to do, and that's about it, But one of the other things that they were talking about on the website was they quoted this guy, and he's in California. It was in regards to Proposition 215 in California. I live in Ohio, and the Reverend Scott T. Ilmer or someone, I don't know. He said, we were selling it to the public as something for the seriously ill. It turned into a joke, and what he means that it turned into a joke is that it turned into a for-profit system. And what he's against is a for-profit system. So basically what he's against is profit. I mean, since when in this country are people against profit? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think it's just like a fad that's been going on recently. People are against profit, people are against capitalism, people want Obamacare, people want this or that, and it's just turned into a big fucking stupid mess. Because now people are saying, oh, legalizing marijuana for a profit is wrong. It's not fucking wrong. People make profit on things all the time, and marijuana is not even bad for you to start with. Let me take an example. They did these scientists did research the other day on Oreos, and they said that Oreos are more addictive, and worse for you than marijuana, cocaine, and heroin. So what's that tell you? So this whole thing about worrying about for profit and is just absolutely stupid. And I think it's un-American. I think it's definitely un-American. And I mean, just look at our past. George Washington smoked marijuana. They made profit. John Adams made profit. He smoked marijuana. Abraham Lincoln, he made profit, smoked marijuana. I don't think anybody thinks that they're villains in our history, because they're not. They're fucking heroes. And just like the people at the dispensaries who have to put up with this charade that, hey, we got to do this because we don't believe in profit and blah, 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 is just absolutely disgusting, because these people are truly heroes. They believe in what they're doing. They believe in helping the people that they're serving. And, a good show to look at this would be a Discovery Channel show. It's called Weed Wars. You can look it up on Netflix, and it's a really great show. It shows, what it's like for a dispensary dealing with taxes and dealing with their employees and stuff like that. But ultimately, they're really great people. And most people who grow marijuana, most people who smoke marijuana are actually really great people. So, and one of the problems that arises from, not having a for-profit structure in California is that there still is a black market in California. And the reason why that is because a for-profit only benefits just a small amount of people. Most of the profits actually go to the government through taxes. I mean, can you imagine that? A for-profit getting taxed 50% when the original tax rate was, it was 1% for people who made the equivalent of $1 million today, and the richest people in the country were getting taxed around 6%. So, and one of the problems that arises is the black market. And so when people are taxed to hell, of course they make more money on the black market because they just sell it directly to the people to make a profit. And that's just the way it works. So if the DEA doesn't want any more black market operations, or if the state doesn't want any more black market operations, then maybe they should just fully legalize it. Maybe, wouldn't that make sense? And another thing that they talked about on the website is the problems that arise when people have grow operations in their house. And one of the reasons, let me get to the bad parts of the grow operations. Basically what happens is sometimes there's fires, there's a mold inside the houses because people don't ventilate their grow ops right, or the smell bothers the neighbors, stuff like that. And one of the biggest things that we got to realize about these problems is that they could be completely circumvented by the full legalization of marijuana. Basically, if you fully legalize marijuana, then people won't have to grow it inside their houses. They won't have to hide it. They can grow it in their fucking gardens, just like the way Mother Nature intended for it to grow. I don't think marijuana was ever intended to grow inside of a house, hidden away inside of a closet or whatever. But that's the way it's done nowadays because the federal government basically makes it illegal for them to do it. So they have to sit there and hide it. And what happens when they hide it? These people still have jobs. They still have stuff to do. So they leave their grow, and maybe electrical malfunction or something like that happens, and fires start. Another thing that they put on the website is that people who grow weed are criminals. Yeah, that's true. But, so were women who were voting back in the past. So were black people who use, white man's toilets. So were a host of other things, like I saw on the polling website or app for that said, 58% of people who approved marijuana legalization, they actually had a poll for sodomy. I don't remember what it was. But, back in the past, it was illegal for people to commit sodomy. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I mean, a politician's in your fucking bedroom telling you how you should have sex. But, that's government. That's government for you. So, obviously, nobody cares whether they're criminals. Nobody really cares about the law because the law's bullshit. There are some laws that are good, obviously. You can't murder somebody. But obviously there's a lot of laws that are bullshit. And this is one of them. And it really discredits the justice system. I think that's one of the biggest problems with the illegality of drugs is that it really discredits the justice system. I mean, how can you trust a system that is just so wrong? So robbery of medical marijuana folks. This is definitely a problem, but once again, this is because of the illegality of marijuana, and basically I'll tell you what happens. So whenever you grow marijuana, you get a clone, and it takes about 9 weeks for it to grow up, and then you can harvest it, and then you got to dry it, and in the meanwhile you got to pay for water, you got to pay for nutrients, you got to pay for light, your light bill. And so what would be easier for you to do all that shit that takes a high level of intelligence to do, or would you rather just steal from somebody who who's doing that stuff? Well, then there you go. Obviously, a lot of people would rather steal from those people, and that's why. And those people can't sit there and call the cops again and be like, "Hey, some guy broke into my marijuana grow. Come on over. I'd like you to, investigate." No, that doesn't happen. It's part of the black market. That's one of the problems with the black market. That's one of the main problems with the black market. So marijuana has a negative impact on the environment, and they sit there and cite that people use pesticides. Well, here's a fucking news flash. Farmers use pesticides and they use the same things as, the marijuana growers. That's part of farming. But I don't see the DEA, demonizing farmers for using pesticides. Or it says right here, 9% of California's household electricity use is for the cultivation of marijuana. Well, it'd be pretty easy to, cure that. All you do is just make it legal, and then people will grow it in their fucking backyard. I mean, it's just astounding how stupid these fucking... I don't even think they're stupid. I think they have a financial, investment in making sure that it stays illegal. But they're just lying, and they're lying to everybody about it, and they're hurting a lot of people in the meanwhile. Marijuana is dangerous to the user and others. See, that's completely false, and I'll tell you why. Because marijuana is actually good for you. And like I said before, smoking marijuana is bad. But it's not the marijuana part that's bad, it's the smoking part that's bad. Smoking anything is bad for you. Smoking combustible plant matter and and inhaling it into your lungs is bad for you, obviously. But the plant itself isn't bad for you. Tobacco isn't bad for you unless you smoke it, obviously. Marijuana isn't bad for you unless you smoke it. Anything in this world isn't necessarily bad for you unless you smoke it. Unless you're talking about poison ivy. But, potency is higher. So what? People have to smoke less in order to get high. Big whoop-de-doo. Marijuana use is on the rise. Okay, so international community joining the U.S. See, now, I don't know where the fuck they got this, because, it's just completely delusional to sit here and say that the international community is joining the U.S. I lived 4 years in Spain, and I've been to Amsterdam, and I can tell you for certain that the international community is not joining banning marijuana. I mean, that's one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard in my life. If anything, the U.S. is joining the international community on legalizing marijuana, as we've seen in Washington and Colorado, and soon in the next election, we're definitely going to see more legalization of marijuana. So that's bullshit. Smoking weed leads to other drugs. I think it can lead to other drugs, but I think it pretty much only leads to tobacco use. And I think one of the things that we got to realize is that smoking marijuana, marijuana itself doesn't lead to other drugs. It's the act of smoking that leads to other drugs. But not only that, but the main reason why people who smoke marijuana might do other drugs is because whenever you go to a dealer, they may not have marijuana on them that day, but they might have meth or coke or whatever, and they say, we don't got marijuana today, but we might have another drug for you. You want to try it? And then you end up saying, yeah, I'll go ahead and try it, whatever. But that's the way that happens. It's not because marijuana, infiltrates your mind and, starts whispering things in your fucking mind, like saying, hey, you gotta do this, and no, that's not the way it fucking works. It just makes you hungry. It just makes you hungry, that's all it does. And European experience with marijuana. Europe is kind of pretty much like the U.S. in a lot of ways. It's decriminalized, but you can't sit there and compare apples and oranges. So that's about it for today. I hope you like this video. If you have any opinions, just go ahead and post on YouTube, and I'll respond on YouTube. And I'll be posting some other stuff in the coming days. So hope you guys have a good one. See you.